Nice crowd here tonight. This is a special called meeting of your Danville City Commission. It is Monday, January 24th. Where did the month go? And the hour is 5:30. And I will call us to order, and as we are all here, and ask that we be led in a moment of prayer or silence by Commissioner Denise Terry.
Tonight, I'd like to just take a moment of silence in memory of Coach Joby Hall, one of the most beloved Kentuckians, and probably had the biggest impact on Kentucky basketball and Kentucky sports in our history. So join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. As is sometimes customary, we like to grab somebody out in the audience to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Caldwell, you're picked tonight. So if you would come up here, and stand up here with us and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome to government. Thank you, sir. Sit tight a minute. Sit tight, sit tight, sit tight. That's all right. Hey, Brian. Here a second. I'm going to let you slip away. We're going to give you a little emblem and key to the city. I hate puncture's nice coat here. I'm not going to do that. Be all right. That's all right. Here, you wear that.
Thank you.
I've not heard contrary, so I will assume you approve of the agenda. We'll move right into hear the public. This is the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at the podium to address the commission on any item that is on tonight's agenda. There'll be an opportunity about midway through to do same on any item not on tonight's agenda. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. My name is Luke Irvin. I'm an attorney with Stice & Harbison here on behalf of the Danville-Boyle County Airport Board. I've been working with the Airport Board in the past couple of weeks with respect to the proposed annexation, and believe there was a question about a potential issue with whether the 5-year prohibition on annexation would be triggered if the ordinance was voted down. I've spoken with Stephen Dexter on this issue and believe we're on the same page now, so really just wanted to let everybody know that we're here with the Airport Board in case there are any questions or anything comes up, so thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome to Danville.
Will we get the answer to that question? You will. Okay.
Anyone else? 3 minutes. And I'm warning everybody, there's a new sheriff here, so be careful.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
As you know by now, my name is Marshall Wilt, a member of the Airport Board. I'm going to speak about annexation, which is on your agenda. What I want to say is a point that's been mentioned before, but I want to make sure that you're properly informed about the gist of this limitation to the part of the airport you're proposing to annex. That part is about 12 acres. If you've been to the airport to see the tornado damage, it's that part where our destroyed hangars ended up, the 12 acres between our access road and Airport Road. That's the only acreage that you're proposing to annex that's available for economic development or for future development. And as a part of the airport, it is constrained by scores of assurances that the FAA places on airports that have received money from the FAA. We obviously have been doing that for some time. And what these assurances or constraints or limitations do is they limit what can be done, and they tell you how you can do that property. So you need to be aware of that. There's so many of them in 3 minutes I couldn't begin to describe what they are. That's the main point I want to say. I want to say that in conclusion, I think you as a city commission and the airport board are in agreement that we want better economic development in the community. We want that, and we stand willing to do what we can to produce that common desired outcome. However, we're uniformly convinced that the airport does not need to be in the city limits in order to do that. The airport board members are uniformly in agreement on that. So I'll stop now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right into item 1, which is the approval of the minutes of 3 previous meetings, January 10th, January 13th, and January 18th. Chair will entertain a motion to accept or amend any or all.
I'll move for approval of the minutes of all of those meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Holland, thank you. Discussion? Any amendments or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2, Mr. Carrier. I'm going to let you carry this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We want to take a little time and recognize an employee that we have at the water plant, Mr. Johnny Hogue, sitting right here. This is a very good employee. He's done a really great job in what little amount of time he's been here with the city of Danville. So I want to give a little bit of background information on him, and then we can recognize him in retirement coming up. So, or actually already has, retired in January. So. Johnny Hogue, he started with the City of Liberty in March of '96. He left in September of '02. He's the chief wastewater operator and started with the City of Springfield in October of 2002 as a treatment operator. In February of '08, Johnny went to Teton Village, Wyoming, where he was the water and wastewater plant superintendent. In September of 2014, Johnny started at the City of Bardstown as a water and wastewater plant operator, and then the City of Danville hired Johnny in November of 2020, and he officially retired January 10th of 22. He holds a Class 3A wastewater and Class 4A water treatment license issued by the Kentucky Division of Water, and is also an Air Force veteran. Thank you, sir. And I also had Andy Tompkins, who's our superintendent at the water plant. Want to get a few words from him, and I quote, "Johnny was an excellent water treatment plant operator. His experience and knowledge of the treatment process was proven in his daily operation of the water plant. He was always willing to help out and offer his insights to the inexperienced operators. His 26 years in the same line of work proves his dedication to the customers of the facilities that he operated." That was from Andy Tompkins.
I'll give this to you.
Yes, sir. Johnny, you want to come up? Johnny, this is just a small token of our gratitude from the City of Danville on behalf of the Commission and Mayor. We wanted to say thank you for your years of service, especially as an Air Force veteran. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate what little time I was here.
You're welcome to say anything if you choose to.
I enjoyed it.
He's going back to Wyoming?
Part-time.
There you go. There you go.
Lived in the prettiest part of it, Teton Village.
Nice.
I was there 7 or 8 years.
You fly fish?
No.
Good time to learn.
Yeah,
Welcome. Enjoy it. You've earned it.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Marshall. Item 3 is the introduction of the new CVB Director, Mr. Rick Sears, if you'll do the honors.
Mayor, commissioners, city staff, public, this is a public introduction of our new executive director, Kendall. He's a Kentucky native, graduate of Western Kentucky University in print journalism, spent quite a bit of time down in Alabama managing a newspaper down there, and then found himself back at home in Lawrenceburg, Anderson County, started the tourism department up there. So he was with them for about 4 years, and our search was pretty extensive, and he fit our needs. So I want to introduce you to Mr. Kendall Clinton.
Hi, Kendall. Come on, join us. Tell everyone about yourself and tell us with a set of fresh eyes what you see as opportunities in this community.
Okay. Well, like Rick said, I spent a considerable number of years in journalism and decided to move back to Kentucky. Wanted to do something new, and this opportunity came up in Lawrenceburg. They had not had a tourism director there before. I had not been a tourism director, so it was a new adventure for all of us, and turned out pretty well. But it's time to move on to bigger and better things, and had the opportunity to come down here to Danville, and do appreciate the CVB board choosing me to lead the effort. So been busy the past few weeks getting the office moved over from Grayson's to Goldsmith at Constitution Square. Just trying to get things planned for this year, some of the things we want to do. And today I placed a job ad for an assistant because it's a pretty big workload over there, lots to do, a lot more than I realized until I got there. But there's a lot of opportunities here that I've already identified. I got a meeting on Wednesday with somebody who wants to possibly start a new event that could be a fairly big event. And working with a TV show on KET about, it'll be focused specifically on Boyle County. It's a show I've worked with before, hoping to get that done this year. And it'll highlight different tourism events and locations in Boyle County and here in Danville. So kind of excited about that opportunity as well. Really focusing on social media right now, kind of trying to take the social media up to the next level with some video and better promotion of events through our social media channels. Working on our website as well. Probably got 30 local events on there for this year, so I'm getting it beefed up, and start working pretty soon on just updating the website in general. A lot of information that needs to be added, removed, updated, changed, so that's a big focus right now as well. And still meeting a lot of people, learning a lot of new things. Hope to get to sit down with each one of you all coming up pretty soon and let you know a little bit more about me and learn about what you kind of expect out of the CVB office.
Good.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions? Any questions?
I will overlook the fact that he's the hilltopper. Eastern.
Okay, I got it.
No,
Thank you,
glad to
sir.
have you. Glad to have you.
Come back anytime.
One more comment. When we were interviewing him, this will make you proud. I said, why would you want to move here from Lawrenceburg, home of wild turkey, 4 Roses, and some other things? And he says, because there's more going on in Boyle County than there. I want to be here.
Nice. Very good.
Good deal. Thank you. Appreciate that, Rick. Item 4 is the introduction of our Emergency Management Director. Judge Hunt, you want to do the honors here, sir?
I would appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. It's my great honor to introduce to you tonight a gentleman who is started out his first month as Emergency Management Director with a severe snowstorm, flooding, and a tornado. So welcome to Boyle County. Well, he's no stranger to Boyle County. He's been the mayor of Perryville, and he's done a lot of other things throughout his career. Boyle County High School graduate. I want to let the commission know that the mayor, myself, and Mayor Jim Douglas from Junction City for the first time were part of an interview process that initially had about 28 applicants for the position. So it was extensive, and it was good for Boyle County to see the potential in a lot of people out there. And I believe, Mr. Mayor, you've been around a lot longer than I have in government service, as well as Jim Douglas. And I believe this is the first time, probably in memory, that the three mayors of the county, or the judge and two mayors, were involved in the selection under KRS 39A through F with regard to the emergency management director upon the retirement of long-serving Mike Wilder. But it is my honor to introduce to you Brian Caldwell, and he is a veteran also, a Marine who has done some combat tours of duty, and he's had several leadership positions in the Corps. And as mayor, he had a leadership position there in Perryville. And so far, I have been extremely pleased with his production as emergency management director, to the point even once we got a call from you one time, and we opened some warming centers, not shelters, but warming centers during some recent sub-zero temperatures and everything. And he coordinated that. We worked with the Shepherd's House on putting out flyers to suspected homeless people, went to where they were. We worked with the Centenary United Methodist Church and opened some warming centers on at least 2 nights. We didn't have any takers, but the effort was sure there, and the promotion was there early on in the day when it was much needed. And thanks to Brian for that coordination and those efforts there. I'd like to introduce now Brian Caldwell.
Hello. How are you all doing? I would like to thank you all too for what you do. I've been there. I know sometimes that thanks isn't heard. So lifelong Boyle County resident, Marine Corps veteran. Glad to be making a transition into something that I have a lot of passion for. As the judge said, it has kind of been a whirlwind. Came in right after the tornadoes hit Boyle County. Then we went into some flooding issues from that. Then a snowstorm, back to some more flooding, and then about 9 days ago I had COVID. So we hope that that's kind of calming down, but just want to introduce myself, have a good working relationship with all of you all. If you need anything, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you can call me. Just keep the channels
Did
open.
you hear that, Judge? I'm calling you, Judge.
He has already, actually.
As Rob Dwell can testify, I will be awake and going at 3 o'clock in the morning with his help.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Glad to have you.
Yeah. All we need is for the knobs to catch on fire, and then you've got your
Oh,
raw
we
fire.
hope not.
Shut
Yeah, we
your
hope
mouth.
We're good.
I think it may be an earthquake. Slight
Nice to
earthquake.
meet everyone.
You too.
Glad to have you, sir. You're always welcome here. Understand that. Judge, I do thank you for
Well,
including us in
This
the,
is one position that the city and the county share together, and it's very
Right.
important. He's as much your resource as he is anybody else's.
and I appreciate your perspective on that and including us, because it hadn't always been that way, sir. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes, sir.
And we're going to need his phone number.
Do what?
We're going to need his phone number.
I got some cards.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but I understand if you leave.
Thank you, appreciate the opportunity to introduce our joint resource here, and I'm looking forward to discussions with all of you and the city manager as we go forward on a permanent and an alternate EOC, Emergency Operations Center, which is something we need to really, both communities invest in, and I think we're headed down the right path on that.
I think we got big plans for that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Judge.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
You too.
Item 5 is the, is Brent here?
Yeah.
This is a update from our Health Department official, Mr. Brent Blevins. Glad to have you back.
Always glad to talk with you guys and appreciate a few minutes just to get a little information out. I always like to start out with a little bit of data, just to give you an idea of where we are. On December 1st, we had a positivity rate of 8.56. January 1st, it was 19.83, and January 20th, we were at 31.3. So it just gives you an idea of the progression over about the last month and a half of what that looked like. Cases, as of December 1st, we had 5,643 cases, or that's what we'd had. As of January 1st, we'd had 5,996, so an increase of about 353. From January 1st to January 20th, we had about 659. So it shows you how quickly this variant doubled in a pretty quick time, obviously. Deaths, as of December 1st, we had 96. January 1st, we had 116, so it shows you an increase of 20 in a short time period. And as of January 20th, we had 118. Now, one thing about the deaths that we talked about before, but it's always good to remember, the state is constantly or continually looking at all the deaths that happen and making determinations on was it COVID, was it not. And so they adjust those numbers, and sometimes we might not have any reported for a while, and then all of a sudden we get 10 in 2 days. And that's normally just from the backlog of what they're reviewing, is what that is. The common things that we still see on the cases that, for the most part, now there's some cases that are just very severe, and there's no rhyme or reason, it's just what it is. But for the most part, the common things that we still see are obesity, diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, heart disease are still some of those real key denominators we see for those cases that really struggle or end up in the hospital, those type of things. So Dr. Thurlman, who's the Department of Public Health CDC person, he's the top one in the state, on a call about the end of last week said that he is starting to see some indicators that it looks like the numbers are slowing a little, maybe evening off. And if you look at the European nations, sometimes we follow a little bit lag behind them. So if that's true, hopefully, because this one went up steep and fast, hopefully we'll go down steep and fast because we've had so many people be sick in a short time period. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we are. Testing, if you're doing testing, sometimes it's good luck getting in because they're full, but definitely keep trying if that's something that you're interested in. And really the testing is working its way as the same thing as quarantine and isolation. A lot of that in the future is just going to be done at home. People are going to be testing themselves and making that determination, hey, yeah, I'm positive. For the protection of me and for everybody else, I need to be out this many days following right now that 10-5, drawing a blank, 5-10 rule, 5-10-5 rule, or 10-5-10. Anybody remember? I'm blanking on that one. But anyway, whichever one that is, it's on our Facebook page. To give you an idea of what we're doing with contact tracing, really, we've had so many cases that we don't do contact tracing on most people. We try to focus on high-risk cases. We try to help the schools out as much as we can. And if we get people who want to be followed, and we do have people call us that want us to call them every day or every other day and keep up with them, then we're definitely going to do that. And any other long-term, high-risk type settings, we're trying to focus on that as much as we can. But I'll tell you the reality is right now, a lot of our contact tracing team is doing mainly data entry, just trying to get the load of cases into the system so the state can even see them, and then answering phone calls and those type of things. And that's kind of where we are every day with it. I think that'll run for another 2 or 3 months, and particularly with the current backlog as we try to make sure we get all those in the system. And then I think contact tracing will even become more of just what you're already seeing in places around the United States and in Kentucky, people, for the most part, just having to make that determination that, yeah, I'm sick, I've got COVID, I'm not going to go to work, be out in public, those type of things, because that's really after 2 years, for the most part, where we are. Questions? Anything I can answer, or?
How do we get the at-home kits?
They can be a little hard to come by at times too right now.
I couldn't find any in town.
You can get on the post office website, and they will send you 4.
Okay, and that's the ones through the Biden administration? Yes. Can definitely do that.
Post office.
I hopefully in the next several weeks that the pharmacies are able to get more of a stock in. If you can order them online and get them, but you're exactly right, they are right now a little harder to come by for that. Everybody good? All right, I always appreciate you guys, thank you.
Thank
We
you very much.
appreciate you. Thank you. Interesting thing on TV, they showed a warehouse full of masks. They just couldn't get them distributed. Item 6 is municipal order number 0124-01-2022. This is a revision of our COVID policy. Our HR Director, Mr. Randy Boyd, is with us. Sir?
Good evening, everyone. So, Commission, in front of you, we have a revised policy which adheres to the safety protocols that we're recommending within the workplace. These protocols have been realigned to follow the CDC guidelines, which essentially is when when someone has to quarantine for direct exposure or for a positive test, that we're recommending that we change our policy to align with that, which is essentially quarantine for 5 days, return when you're symptom-free, when you've been symptom-free for 24 hours, and then also require a face mask within the workplace for 5 additional days, or 5 calendar days, depending on the person's work schedule and their cycle. In addition to those changes, we just kind of revised the public visitors guidelines, which essentially just says, we don't require face masks within city facilities, but we encourage those. It's discretionary, and then we'll make those available, to the public upon request. And then also, we're requesting to change our meeting guidelines. Prior policy had a limit of 25 within the meetings, but depending on the size of a facility, some facilities can house more than 25 people safely, but we're just revising that to make sure that we have standard safety protocols for, social distancing. And the last major change on that is we talk about, on the very bottom of the policy, if you look right here, it talks about county incident rate, which essentially we're requesting that, because we all know this is a fluid situation, things change rapidly, that the city manager would have discretion to put in additional administrative protocols they deem necessary when the county goes into a red incident, which we all currently know that we're currently in at this moment. And we felt like it was appropriate time to bring these to the table. We've had, several cases within the city, and we want to make sure that we keep all of our employees safe and their families and the general public as well. So be happy to entertain any questions you have on the policy.
Any questions? Don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
We need a motion.
You do, yes, sir.
Would like to point out one variation real quick. Under the last page, page 3, I'm sorry, not the last page, page 3 of 4, towards the end, Attorney Dexter altered the next last paragraph where it says city manager shall be further authorized to revise the policy at the sole discretion from time to time as may be necessary to address the current state of COVID-19 and, quote, involving guidelines from the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention. We added that last sentence this afternoon and felt like that enabled us to prevent us from having to discuss it consistently like we have been doing.
Would you like to amend your motion to include that?
That's on the revised municipal
on-
order that was provided to you.
Oh, it's on this other one. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I move for approval of municipal order 012401-2022.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Cottles, or second, Commissioner Terry, thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like, Gage?
Do a reading. I I thought this was gonna have in the content, a change about the mask policy for city employees. I don't think I saw that. We have revised our policy where city employees are
Yes,
not required to wear masks.
Yeah, I think we had discussed that. I want to say it was probably the last meeting in November, I believe is when the face mask mandate got lifted. But in this policy, what we're asking for is when an employee comes back from quarantine or isolation, that they are mandated to wear a mask for the additional 5 days per the CDC's recommendations.
Okay. But the mask thing will be covered by the city manager in that last part of this?
Yes, sir. And that was because I think that was discussed in the November meeting too, where because it's such a fluid situation, I think we've discussed this, probably brought this back. This may be the third or fourth time this year that we've revised it, that it would be, the city manager would make those necessary adjustments to put face mask in place requirements in place when they see like it's necessary, depending on, the environment around us.
You want to vote, sir?
Well, I'm still thinking, right? But we're in red right now, but we're not requiring city employees to wear a mask right now. It's optional, right?
At the moment, no. Again, that would, if this policy approves, that would be up to the city manager to make that decision.
All right, I can vote a yea.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 7 is resolution number 2022-01-24-01. This is a revised authorized list for fiscal year 2022. Mr. Boyd.
Yeah, so what we're asking for is not additional job duties to the police department, but just a realignment. Currently, the police department has 39 authorized positions. What we're asking for is to realign, to move one position from patrol officer and adding one slot into the detective's position. Should not have an impact on the budget because we have 2 vacant positions that change would be absorbed through. So essentially, you're taking away one patrol officer at the recommendation of the chief and adding a detective, so they feel that they need to add a 4th detective due to the workload that they're currently facing.
Do I hear a motion for this resolution?
I'll move to approve the resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Holland. Discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the resolution, the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 8, resolution number 2022-01-24-02. This is the selection of our new insurance broker. Continue, sir.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So staff on December 1st, we put out an RFP for a new insurance broker. The purpose for that RFP was just to identify that the city is getting the best overall value for the city and its employee members through their healthcare broker. Currently, our broker is StrongSide Solutions. They've done a great job for the last 2 years, but we still felt like we wanted to put that out for bid to make sure that we have the right fit. So essentially, we put it out for bid asking for brokerage services for, our current self-insured healthcare plan, along with our ancillary plans, which is things like dental, vision, our disability plans. So with the brokerage, we received 5 firms that responded to us. No particular order, I'm just going to name off the ones that responded, which was StrongSide Solutions, our current broker out of Milton, Georgia, the BAM Group out of Lexington, Kentucky, Horan out of Cincinnati, Ohio, Johnson & Pullman out of Danville, Kentucky, and Nextbin out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So once we got the RFP, the selection committee was made up of 7 members of the senior management team. Upon review of the bids, we identified 4 firms that we wanted to bring in to do oral presentations to the committee. Those 4 firms included our current vendor, StrongSide Solutions, the BIM Group, Horan, and Johnson & Pullman. Basically, what we asked from them when they came in is we wanted them to top line how they would handle 6 strategic things for the city. One of those is customer service. We feel that's probably one of the number 1 things that a broker service can bring to the table. Cost containment, as we all know, cost containment is very critical when it comes to healthcare. Available carrier options, what networks they have that they can explore for the city, financial analysis and reporting, wellness programs, and compliance tools. So basically what we asked for is we asked each vendor to do a 45-minute presentation. And I will tell you that when these vendors came in, they were all very close. We had four good bids. All vendors were more than capable of providing brokerage services to the city. When we looked at it, the committee ranked every broker, and they ranked them in this order. Number 1 was Johnson & Pullman. Number 2 was the BIM Group. Number 3 was Horan. And number 4 was Strongside Solutions. And again, not a reflection on each of these vendors. All of these vendors were very good. But we felt like this was what was most important to the city. And so at the end of the RFP process, the committee reviewed it, and we feel like Johnson & Pullman would be the best fit for the city. And so we're recommending them as our next broker. And here's just a couple of things that, while we felt like they would be a good fit, is number 1, they have a lot of cost containment solutions available through their partner with Keystone Insurance Group. They're going to be able to provide us access to additional marketplace networks to look at when we go do our renewals for medical, dental, vision through the Kentucky network. So there's a lot of potential savings there. They're very customer service oriented. We feel like they're going to be very hands-on, and that's an approach that we take with healthcare, because we all know healthcare is very complicated, right? We could talk about all the technical stuff, but I'll save that for another day. But
Thank you.
you know, so we feel like they're going to give us the support hands-on, not only with the management team and HR, but also with the employees. We want someone that's going to be able to go direct to employees, get on the phone, and just talk in really basic terms with the employees and help them through healthcare. You know, and again, I think these are all reasons for us to go with Johnson & Pullman. I feel like they're going to be the best value. Now, of course, once we go out, you know, this is the easy part, right? Landing with a broker. Then we have to go out and analyze the market, put it out to bid, and we'll know more about what our actual healthcare plans will look like. And that'll be more probably closer to the end of February. As far as total brokerage cost, currently the estimated annual fee to them based on their proposal is $50,200. That's roughly a $25,000 savings over our current brokerage fees. I mean, obviously, monetary funds were consideration, but that was just part of the overall value analysis. And so, in summary, we're recommending that Johnson & Pullman be selected as our broker.
Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022012402.
Thank you, Commissioner Hollins. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cottle, appreciate that. Discussion? Sounds like you've done your homework.
Yep. And then, of course, just to clarify, we'll, now this has been approved, we'll bring back the actual contract for the city
Right.
attorney to review and probably be on the next meeting for signature.
I like that they're local. I mean, they're just right,
Yes.
right there.
Yeah, and, you know, that was, you know, that's really kind of, really icing on the cake, really. I mean, they're local, but they also have all those cost containment solutions. And I think having that access to additional markets, especially with the carriers that we can explore, it opens up a lot more decisions for us long-term. So, and what we'd like to do is really, our goal here is, you know, we want to have, because we had a 2-year plan traditionally, you know, it's not trending the way we want. We want to put up a 5-year strategy, and that's what we told each of the vendors, that we want a 5-year strategy. So, because what we don't want to do is, you know, our goal is not to switch brokerage and carriers every 2 years. So we're trying to get it stabilization. I think they can help us do that.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Your mask is upside down.
There you go. Thank you.
Item 9 is the second reading of ordinance number 1986. This is the annual codification of our ordinances. Do I hear a motion for the second reading?
I'll move for approval of a second reading of ordinance number 1986.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cottle, thank you. We are in discussion. If there is any. Seeing none, Chair will call the question. Madam Clerk, would you read the ordinance, please?
This is the second reading of ordinance number 1986, an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Danville, Kentucky. Commissioner Cottle?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Paris,
Yes.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 10 is the first reading of ordinance number 1988. This is a zone change request for the South Danville bypass. Do I hear a motion for the first reading?
I'll move for approval of first reading of ordinance 1988.
Do I hear, thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Holland. Discussion. For the public's benefit, this is the acreage that is next to and near Cattleman's. Any discussion? Yep. Chair will call the question. Continue on, Madam Clerk.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1988, an ordinance changing the zone from AG agriculture to RM3 multifamily residential, RM4 multifamily residential, and HB highway business for approximately 56.539 acres, more or less, of real property located on the South Danville bypass in the city of Danville, Kentucky. Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Paris,
Yes.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes.
Item 11 is resolution number 2022-01-24-03. This is the incentive plan for the airport. Do I hear a motion for that resolution? And then we'll let Earl have his conversation.
Can I ask a question for some legal advice?
Yes, sir.
Because this is a special call meeting, can we change the order of number 11 and number 12?
No, sir, not at this time.
Seems like number 12 should be done first, okay?
Well, that was just discussed amongst staff, and as a sign of good faith in preparation for putting the commission on record prior to your vote on annexation, staff felt it appropriate that you detail in writing the incentive plans that you will enact in the event that annexation is successful.
All right. All right, so noted.
Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move to approve resolution 2022-01-2403.
Thank you, Commissioner Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Atkins, thank you. We are in discussion.
Earl, you want to?
Yes, and
Run
so
through
we
those,
gave,
please.
absolutely. We gave a presentation where we described the data and the numbers which result from implementing the policy that is stated in the resolution in writing. So to be careful, what we'll do is we'll read the resolution into the record for you. Whereas in contemplation of a southern annexation and the city's desire to incentivize activity at the Danville, Boyle County Airport, and Stewart Powell Field, whereas one goal of the aforementioned annexation is to improve the tax position for users of the airport by decreasing the overall tax burden, promote use, and encourage economic development, and whereas after a review of the tax treatment of airport users in other communities, city staff developed a proposed financial plan that maintains the airport's strong tax position by reducing the burden for large business users while maintaining tax stability for the average user, in addition to improving governmental services to the airport, such as police and fire protection. And whereas said plan includes the following: a revised tangible tax rate for personal aircraft to be $0, a revised insurance premium tax rate with a specific category of inland marine, which encompasses aircraft, to be 4%, a wage assessment, occupational tax relief for on-air employees for a period of 5-year abatement, and an increased dedication of an annual commitment of funding to the Danville Boyle County Airport Board in an amount equal to occupational taxes realized to serve as an offset to any expenses specific to corporate entities providing on-air employment. And whereas the Board of Commissioners approves the proposed financial plan, now for be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners in the City of Danville, that the proposed financial plan for users of the Danville Boyle County Airport is approved and shall be implemented upon the implementation of pending southern annexation in order to promote on-air business and economic development and economic activity at the airport.
We are in discussion.
The wage assessment has a sunset, 5 years. What about the others? Are they in perpetuity, or what's the thought?
In our eyes, those are in perpetuity. The revised insurance premium tax rate of 4% compensates the city for the fire protection services that it's rendering. Over the course of time, as the demand for those services could increase with increased traffic, then that number could, the percentage could not go up. But if we have additional planes on air, then the revenue to compensate for the increased burden of the fire protection could go up as well because of growth, not necessarily the insurance premium rate changing. The staff feels like that is appropriate in that the tangible tax, honestly, in my opinion, the tax rate for personal aircraft should be low to nothing because they are a tool. They are a business necessity for those businesses that do business outside of our community that are housed within our community. We can name several. The one that is most impacted that we could identify is Lafayette Engineering. They employ more than 150, close to 200 people in our community. They pay property taxes in our community, and we think that we need to incentivize businesses such as them who travel well across the eastern United States to, all over the United States, to locate in Danville by having a low tax burden on their aircraft if they house them at our airfield. If a business is locating into a community, as we have participated in economic development with the EDP over the years, companies look for dollars. And when you compare the tax rate and tax burden to places like Somerset, places like Frankfurt, our tax rate is significantly lower than theirs. This makes that position stronger over the course of time while improving services to the airport, such as fire protection. It opens up the door for us then to pursue federal grants to improve that service even further because we're a 24-hour certified agency.
Could we?
And we should also mention on the tax abatement, Commissioner, while the statute requires that to be a maximum of a 5-year incentive, to the extent that there are new employees hired after this initial period, they themselves could be subject to additional wage assessments for new hires after this abatement period expires. So, for instance, if there are new on-air employees based on new businesses, the city could engage in new wage assessments with those new entities for additional 5-year periods. Mm-hmm. So that category, the initial category has a 5-year abatement period, but they could run concurrently with other wage assessments that may be created in the future based on new jobs.
What is our normal insurance premium tax?
8%.
8?
I believe, isn't it?
Currently on inland marine, it's 10%.
10.
It's 10, okay, I was thinking it was 10. And as far as we know, are other communities charging the full amount, or do we know that?
The insurance premium rate's different for a lot of other cities. I can't remember.
We had a graph on that, didn't we not?
I did. I'm not going to try to recall that. 4% was competitive. Typically, what we saw in the communities that seemed to be seeking out incentives for airplanes, such as Elizabethtown, it was a little bit higher than that at 5%.
Okay.
I was wondering, maybe to help things later on anyway, in the next item on the agenda, but could we put some verbiage in there regarding the in perpetuity and those kind of things? I think that there's some desire to have something in writing for long term.
Yeah, and Stephen can address that first, and
I
then I
think-
have an observation on that.
Sure.
Would
I
you-
think we could, to the extent that's desired, I think what we could do is call this a long-term plan. The words in perpetuity, we may find to have some constitutional restraints. But if
That
we.
was a big word that I found, and I wanted to use it.
Well, it did
so-
sound great. It sounded great coming out of your mouth. I think if we solidify it as the city's long-term financial plan, that may accomplish the goal. I certainly think that it's the desire of staff to propose something that has an enduring impact and with no desire to make changes to what you passed tonight. Now, this is the plan. So once approved, the actual ordinances and matters that enable this to come into play will be brought before you again. So, but it certainly would be something like the tax rates you look at, they're presented to you every year. And if adopted by this plan, staff is saying that those would be presented to you as presented in this plan upon your adoption, which would be $0 or 4% as it's outlined.
Thank you.
That answer your question?
It does.
Any other questions? Comments? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of resolution number 2022-01-24-03 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 12 is the first reading of ordinance number 1985. This is with respect to annexation of territory on US 127 South. Do I hear a motion for the ordinance?
I'll move for approval of the first reading of ordinance number 1985.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it. Just move it on so we can have a discussion. We are in discussion. I'm going to ask that our clerk read the ordinance, please, ma'am, so we've got a clear understanding.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1985, an ordinance of the city of Danville, Kentucky, proposing to annex the unincorporated territory lying adjacent to and contiguous with the present city boundaries, being the area between US 127 South and Ghost Pike, extending to the south past Kentucky 1273 Airport Road, which property is owned by Franklin Floyd Jarvis and Martha Sue Jarvis, husband and wife, Nicholas Adams and Brittany Mills, husband and wife, William D. Spoonamore, unmarried, William L. McCormick, and Danville County Airport Board, consisting in the whole of 583.663 acres, more or less, and being more accurately described below.
Thank you. We are in discussion.
Well, there's a couple questions that just been spinning around in my vacant head. One for each, for the airport board and one for the city. It's been said repeatedly that this will promote economic development by us annexing the airport. Is that the only way? I mean, what would that preclude us from doing if we did not annex? I've not really heard that exactly, and I haven't heard, we say there's going to be all this money available, and I haven't really heard the source or the amount or how that works. So if you could clear that up for me, I'd appreciate it.
Well, first off, it does result in a total tax burden that decreases. So that in and of itself is an incentive for economic development. Second, it does improve fire service, as we are a certified agency. one of the avenues for additional money is the fact that we are eligible for federal grant dollars, for example, for fire protection, on-air fire protection equipment that the volunteer county fire department is not, right? So there is, that's the easiest thing to point to that everyone understands, right? In addition to that, there has been strong evidence expressed by the members of the airport board over time, where we have talked about improvements necessary for the airport in the future. If the city is to play a partner in that, it gives you more flexibility in how you invest city dollars by it being in the city versus it not being in the city. That is a big component to annexation, and one of the big reasons why you would need to annex it. If the airport is going to change in the future and you have two different approaches. You can wait for the FAA to provide all funding, or you can be more aggressive and let the local community determine how to fund that. You can borrow money. You can directly invest in money. The city and county can. It makes it easier for the city to be a partner moving forward if it is in the city. And for that purpose, that is the biggest purpose. It does increase the likelihood of receiving some dollars, as the city could pursue those separately. There's different pots of money available to cities than counties for different types of projects, whether it be water, sewer, or other infrastructure improvements. And so it's the totality of all those without dialing up which program for which situation. Most of the time, you have a specific need that you're seeking funding for. And so then you seek a program appropriate to fund that. The city can do that more efficiently if it's in the city, frankly. And so that's why we have suggested that you go ahead and weigh out whether or not to do the annexation or not, for those reasons.
Thank you. And my other follow-up question is is it okay if I ask the airport board?
Sure.
Somebody, Rob, or, what is it about being annexed that is such a negative for you all? So we're not in the operation of the airport business. We're just talking about annexing. So if you could explain or tell all of us, I guess, what the major drawback is in your.
Do I have 3 minutes?
Yep. I think in this case, you can go longer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, after every meeting I've had with Earl, what's come to mind is he's mentioned what he could do. Have I not always just said, we can do that without being annexed? As we've had that, as you're talking about the pros and the cons, and then, and I think as Earl's been learning, and I think as you all been learning, we started in the 30s out off Lancaster Road as a grass strip, moved out there. It's been growing. It became part of the city of Danville. If I'm not mistaken, the city of Danville acquired it from the Chamber of Commerce, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, way back when.
That is correct.
And then Boyle County. But, in the last 6 to 8 years, we've really become a regional facility, not just in the eyes of the FAA, which by the way, because we are classified as a regional facility through this 3 rounds of COVID funding, we've been getting double, sometimes 3 times what other airports have been getting, because we are truly a regional airport now. And we have 2 board members from Lincoln County that have become board members. And I know, when this came up, the folks in Lincoln County who would like to partner with us more, said that had you not taken Lincoln County out, that they had no choice but to sue, because it would have been political suicide for any elected official in Lincoln County not to. And so that's a step in downgrading relations. And then And then you think about Boyle County, and it shouldn't change. I mean, Earl had a great point. You know, they're really a county is more of an arm of the state government. I'm learning this through annexation, based on Earl's comments. But then the magistrates are kind of concerned about, and I know you've been through this 1,000 times with lots of issues, you know, how do you maintain that good relationship with different entities when it's a joint city and county effort? And so I don't think this in any way helped that relationship. And then the board, you know, my gut feeling when this came up was I thought it was a bad idea. I had trouble quantifying it right away, but to me it was a head scratcher because over the past 6 years we've been approached with the previous city manager and the mayor and then the current city manager, and they would come out and talk to the airport board, and then they would leave, and they were going to come back quickly with something quantified, and it didn't happen. And then just a couple of years ago, I was asked to meet with Earl and Stephen here at City Hall and talk about annexation. How can we make it positive? And Earl called me up a couple of weeks later, and if I'm telling you anything that's wrong, he goes, "This is a real head scratcher for me, Rob. I'm having trouble quantifying it." Is that not true? I didn't know.
I don't recall, you know, precisely the conversation.
Okay.
What was important, though, is that we did go through the process, which is what we wanted permission to do with the commission. So I'm not going to sit here and categorize something that I didn't do back then simply because we hadn't done it yet. I've learned a lot about taxation around airports, and, you know, I think the city's policy is strong.
So that said, you know, we were waiting for it to be quantified once again, and it wasn't. And then the city manager and the mayor met with us just last summer, right before this annexation process started. And, you know, there was lots of, you know, $50 million big money kind of stuff, but and sometimes I wonder that this may have gotten started with you know, frustration, and I appreciate your frustration with there not being, and there's lots of ways to title it, but I think most generally we call it, you called it a master plan, you know, trying to do more planning. And so we as a board have always said, you know, please come to our meetings, please get involved. I was at the Kentuckians for Better Transportation meeting last week, as was Commissioner Terry and the city manager. And the Madisonville Airport manager, who's also on the board at the Ohio County Airport, said, you know, we have 3 commissioners that are actively involved with our airport board. And I said, how do you do that? Because elected officials cannot be on an airport board. And they said, well, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
We all work together, and we're involved because it is part of the community, you know, jumping in and working with them. I know we as an airport board formed what we called our community board 3 years ago, and Jake Bell's led that and done a brilliant job. And its mission is 2 things. One is, like any other entity, there are so many different types of users of the Danville County Airport that there's always been a little miscommunication going on, and we wanted this group to be a way we could meet on a regular basis and make sure everybody was clear about what was going on in the airfield and somebody wasn't getting a better deal than somebody else. And then number 2, as Stuart Powell used to say when he would come up here to talk to you guys, I'm here to talk to you about your airport. And it was to actively engage with the community, and you guys have been on our newsletter that we sent out. Our 4th Sunday food truck days, our Experimental Aviation Association. You know, we've had all of these events trying to get the community to come out. This year, the local pilots, with no money from the airport board, donated money and put a playground out there. It's all about getting the community to come out and be part of the airport. And so, you know, I say to you, if you want to help the airport because you care about the airport, get involved. We've already got this in place. we divided our board up in order to meet the open meeting laws. We divided our airport board up into working groups where they would not enact any policy or make any decisions, but that we would get together between meetings with less than a quorum. And we've had people from the community. Jamie Payton, who was with CVB, played a huge role helping us put that program together for our board members. And we've had folks that are not board members come out and get involved. And so, you know, I say to you, if you really want to annex the airport, why haven't you been involved all along? And so, and then, as I said, my gut instinct was that this, you know, was not a great idea just because of the history and elected officials coming out and telling our employees that if, you know, if you were in the city, that you'd have much better services and a better retirement. And, you know, just, and so it started building ill sentiment. And then in the meetings that we had with the tenants, I think someone called Mr. Coffey on the carpet after he had talked about all the benefits of being part of the city. And he said, now, Mr. Coffey, I've only been on the board for 2 years, but I can tell you, when you walk into this group and talk about how you're going to make things happen at the airport, there's a lot of people that have put a lot of their time and energy into this that are going to be offended by that. And I tried really hard to work with this, but I could just tell over time that there's more to this agenda that I haven't figured out, and I guess it's built what I would consider, to me personally, I've lost faith and trust. And it's you know, the shotgun wedding, I guess, is just not a good way to build that. But at any rate, and because I've worked, and I think the city manager would tell you, I tried really hard to be very objective. And after that third meeting where, you know, I could see what was kind of going on, and the comments made, you know, well, the city, you know, that airport was built with tax dollars, so why shouldn't the city have it? You know, I mean, city have it. And then I was in a meeting last week, and I know that wasn't your intention, but we were at the Kentuckians for Better Transportation. There were about 25 or 30 people in the room, and one of your commissioners referred to us as a bunch of hobby aircraft. And so, and I turned 30 shades of red and asked her about it, and she said that's
I
not...
apologize for that. I did not know that was an offensive phrase.
Okay. Well, yeah, and there are hobby aircraft on the field, but to me,
I did not use the word a bunch of. I said we are not looking to tax the airplanes, whether they are corporate or hobby planes. That's what I said.
Okay. All right. So, that said, it's just a bewilderment to me that where we're building what is considered a regional facility, you know, why does it really need to be annexed? I heard the answer just a few minutes ago, and it was pretty nebulous in my mind. And, you know, yes, we can get more money, you know, for the fire department to get special fighting equipment, but it all, and just the way I don't know, it's just, to me, we're a volunteer group. Our jobs are not threatened because we're not paid. We are all doing it because we're passionate about it. You know, I remember going to the airport in 1962 or 63. That was when my father bought a Bonanza, and I can remember going up with it and with him when he bought that airplane. And, you know, I've been going out there my whole life. And then Stuart Powell started stopping me on the street occasionally, asking me about the airport, going, you know, we'd sure like to get you guys out there. And I became a devotee of Stuart Powell. I still am. I think he's left enough vision and strategic plan for that airport to take us the next 10 years. We're working on a lot of that right now, and that's why we do it. And, you know, if I just feel that there's really no reason to do this unless you're wanting to run an airport. And if you do, you should. But I wish you would come out and get to know more about it before you at least kick the tires, before you take over the airport. And, my suggestion is, and it hadn't been mentioned by Attorney Dexter yet, but I feel like one of the things that has really bothered me more than anything is just the way we've been cloistered and kept from each other. We got the letter from Stites that stated that we could, and it was given to Stephen, but it wasn't shared with you guys. I feel like there's a group that's been pushing this, and then the rest of you have been spoon-fed. And you were asking me why I'm opposed to annexation. I'm just telling you what I feel based on what I've been watching. And it's disturbing to me. And so, how many more hours you want me to go on?
If I may,
I think we got it.
yeah, if I may address a couple points, thank you, Rob, for your
Thank you, Rob.
comments.
But I would, if I'm supposed to get down, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Okay. It is about, if it's such a great idea, and you want to do it collaboratively, and you want the airport board to continue being the airport board, then wait however long it's going to take to get to know the airport a little bit better, and we'll do it collectively. And we'll date a little. We'll go to the drive-in a little. We'll park up on the hill a little bit. And if we feel like it's the right thing and our families are happy with it, we'll get married. But once again, as I said, the whole shotgun wedding approach, to me, nobody likes anything rammed down your throat. And I know there's a lot of us that migrated through the Cumberland Gap and down from Fort Pitts over the years. We're a pretty independent bunch. And there's just something about the shotgun wedding that really, and having something rammed down your throat that really doesn't sit well. And so it makes me concerned. There's no trust because of that. I'm sorry.
Thank you. A couple of points to address, Mayor and Commissioners. First of all, we've said this publicly before, but it's important to say it again tonight. Annexation has zero to do with operations. Zero. Let alone the city of Danville annexes property routinely. And just as we don't tell or look in the refrigerators of any residential annexations or tell them what to cook for dinner, the same applies in this situation. Not only is the city not interested in operating an airport, the city's precluded by law in doing just that. So you've enacted an ordinance to create the Danville County Airport Board that has sole responsibility, legal and otherwise, to operate that airport. Whatever action you take tonight will not change that position or that legal standing. So it's not about operations. And I understand you may feel that way, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Secondly, in regards to, this is an important point for the community as well as the commission to reiterate. And Rob, I understand, I'm not sure what any elected official may or may not have told you. I'm just telling you from position of council and staff as far as what the city can and can't do and what my advisement would be. However, when any party is represented by council, it is standard procedure from a legal perspective that you fence communication. That is what happens. Council is here tonight. And while council did send a letter saying that we could talk to their client, I was not inclined to go that way. And why? Because council is present here again tonight. And so when entities or individuals are represented by council, we stop communicating individually and we go through council. That is standard, ethical, legal position. And just because one side gives permission to speak directly with their client doesn't necessarily mean that I will give free rein for that as well. I think it would be bad advice for me to have done so. And I did share the contents of your letter with the board as I'm required to do. So the very insinuation that I would not share a client communication with my client is offensive to me, Rob, because I'm bound to do it ethically. I did. The commission was aware of it. We discussed it in detail in executive session, and I still said that all communication should flow through council. And that is my advice. And I would do that whether I was representing your company, or if I was representing the city of Danville, or if I was representing a resident who lives down the end of Jean Drive. Whoever it is, when council is present and represented, you go through council. And I stand firmly by that belief, and I'll proclaim that as so long as I'm in this chair. So that's important to know. And again, I just want to round the fence here and confirm for you, whatever you decide to, it's staff's duty to bring forth agenda items that you have put into action. It's before you. The information that has been shared with you ad nauseum over months and months, this has been a conversation that has gone on for quite some time. And so now's the time where you decide whether to proceed or not. Before you do that, I do want to correct one matter. At a prior meeting, someone asked a question, why not just go back and annex the property owners that have given consent to do so? And I informed you that once an intent to annex ordinance is passed, you have to vote on that ordinance, and that is true. So what is before you tonight has to be voted upon. However, in the event that it is not approved, someone asked, could you go back and just take the property owners that want it? I told you there was a 5-year prohibition in doing so. Just like the Planning Commission on zone changes has 2-year prohibitions, this has a 5-year prohibition, so I told you you cannot do that. However, after that meeting, I went back to, and I was recalling that from memory. When I read it, it was categorized as just being a 5-year prohibition if the voters file a valid protest and vote it down by referendum. So that 5-year delay does not apply in this situation should you not approve the ordinance. So it's important for me to correct that advice to you on the record so you know it. And I think that answers your question that you got to earlier, Commissioner Cottle. But counsel for the airport board did send a letter to me today regarding that effect, and we had a nice telephone conversation about it, and I told him that I was already prepared in correcting that on the record tonight anyway. But I think that, and I think the city manager may have some other points, but I wanted to make those to you as well.
Yeah, just to restate, this is what the attorney just said, and I appreciate that, but it's not about operations. It is about economic development. What we learned throughout last summer when we went to an economic development seminar and also our own local economic development symposium that we had in August is that we have to take advantage of the things that we have. We do not have an interstate through Danville. We have rail and we have an airfield. Annexing it into the city is no different than annexing any other industrial park that you have. It improves access for development, and it improves services to the development, and also it promotes the development by being in the city. Most cities that have access to annex their airport have done so. Cities that the reason you don't is because some of the airfields are so far out in the county, they're just not accessible logically. Ours is. So therefore, to benefit the community as a whole, we have provided you a recommendation to complete the annexation based on what we learned through research with the airport board and also reviewing other cities' tax policies towards on-air users. So therefore, we've provided you the incentive plan that confirms that it is your intention to do that, right? So then on top of that, we would like to point out that this is not the first time we have been to the airport. The city of Danville has spent $8 million on sewer system expansions in that community where the airport is served. It was strategically located on air so as to get access to sewer service for the airport board at the request of Stuart Powell. That was an active direction that the city took. In addition to that, any development on the air of additional users in the future, if there's a corporate entity that locates on the property, they would have access to the city water and sewer rates and also public infrastructure that the city of Danville is responsible for maintaining. So that if that has to be adjusted, the city would have to invest additional dollars outside of the city limits. So as a taxpayer in the city, it is totally reasonable to expect that the city of Danville take on the annexation to to confirm its relationship with the county and the city in aiding the development of users of the facility at that location. So there are specific benefits to being in the city, which is why most cities annex the airports when it's accessible. Again, the city has been out there for 20 years investing in water and sewer infrastructure, and future development may require additional dollars beyond the utility fund. If it is for an alteration to a roadway alignment, that is, puts the city in a stronger position to support those changes, as you've talked about with me, near the entrance, where we have described, and you described for me, access of an extended taxiway into the area where the existing entrance road is. If the city wants to partner with you, which you have asked me to do, in relocating that road at some point in the future, then the city needs to be annexed in order to give the city government more flexibility in spending those dollars. Again, it has nothing to do with the operations of the airport. I praised your all's foresight in certain things last week at the KBD conference. And I appreciate the emphasis that both Stuart Powell and Rob Coyle has put on promoting that airport. They have been staunch advocates of that facility for a generation, and that is appreciated. That doesn't change nor is diminished by the annexation, and I don't want that to be confused. Thank you.
May I?
Comments, questions?
So I was at the Kentuckians for Better Transportation conference last week. I learned a lot. I was able to talk with people, both elected officials and transportation people of all types, and specifically air and general aviation airport people. I discussed with many of these people that we were contemplating annexation of the airport. Their first question was, what is your goal? And my answer was economic development. And they said, so you're not looking to tax the airplanes? No, we're not. So they, after several discussions with different people, all their answers were the same. Well, then why not? It's to spur economic development. And Mr. Coffey's already said, we don't have an interstate. So that automatically puts us off of lists of people that are looking to develop, companies looking to relocate. So we need to use our assets, which are rail and air, to capitalize on the economic development. So putting the airport in the city limits also helps us work with planning and zoning to guide the land use around the airports, because we do know that residential development around airports does not work. It fails. So the land use, can be guided there. And annexation is to maximize a taxpayer-owned asset for the benefit of the region and the community, and not just for the users. Danville is on the cusp of growing or not. We have the opportunity, partly because of this conference that we attended last week, we have the opportunity to be on a ground level of cutting-edge, life-changing technology. We need to move forward with a plan and work the plan regardless of what the FAA offers. We've been in a state of status quo as a community. And we are behind over 40 years and losing ground every day because we have been sitting on our laurels for 40 years. The theme of the conference last week was leadership and collaboration. That was the answer that I got with everyone when I said, well, how did you make that project happen? What did you do? Every single one of them said leadership and collaboration from everyone. And I'm going to add relationships to that. We need to remember that we're all on the same team here. We're all Team Danville. It takes all of us to move forward because the days of relying on one or two people, such as John Hill Bailey, John Stegall, and Seward Powell, to get deals done are gone. Leadership, collaboration, a plan, and moving forward together are the only way we are going to succeed as a community.
For the clarification to the commission, because the point was brought up that previous city manager Ron Scott and I did go out to the airport and I guess you would call it a trial balloon, just to begin to see what the temperature was and share the concept. Some of the background to that was conversation that Mr. Scott and I had with council as to how that annexation might proceed, because it can only proceed under certain legal avenues. The conversation, and council feel free to correct me, but the conversation as I recall it was, well, there is precedent that you can annex along existing water lines. Is that correct?
That is correct, and at that time, that was a newly acceptable form of annexation. But as I recall, my advice being, I was uncomfortable with proceeding in that way without additional landowners providing consent because it was too new for me to feel comfortable with. I thought the approach was too aggressive, which is what I shared with you then.
So I want you to know that we made an active decision to, you know what, we may have the avenue, the capability to do this, but it's heavy-handed to do it that way. But then when we got a significant landowner in that mix who said, hey, I do want to be annexed, then that created the opportunity to begin the conventional annex process, which is exactly what we've done. And that process is defined. It gives opportunity for input from landowners. It gives opportunity for landowners to coalesce and reject that. Now, this is a decision for the five of us up here. I just want to provide some clarity to the history, if you will, as to our previous discussions with the airport.
And Mayor, the only thing I'd like to add to that is that it is out of efficiency of process and funds used in any annexation upon any request for annexation. It is the policy of this city to evaluate that not in a small way, but in a larger way, to say what is the most efficient manner to proceed. If we are annexing properties A, B, and C, what makes the most sense for the utilization of city resources at that time? So that is a conversation that happens at every annexation. Is not unique to this particular situation, but it's just a best practice that staff has employed, for as long as any of us have been here.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. If I'm not going to be allowed to speak, I'll go ahead and sit down. But could I just make one more comment?
We'll allow that.
Okay. And it was well said. Leadership, collaboration, and relationships. Has this fall been anything related to that? Collaboration, leadership, relationships. And that you say you don't want to be running the airport, but you're going to be running it if you get it. Because I don't, it just seems inevitable.
I mean, how is that even going to happen?
How can that happen? It's illegal.
We have an ordinance that forms the board with the county that operates the airport. I just don't even understand that.
Yeah,
I mean, unless we take that off the books, which is not going to happen.
The city cannot do that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was also, we were approached by a citizen who was asked if they would be an airport board member, because once we got, after certain conditions were met, that they were going to be one of the people that replaced the airport board. And so it just seems to me that
you know what, Rob? You're wrong again. I had a citizen call me and ask if they could be on the airport board. And like I tell everyone, yes, when we have another opening, I would be glad to recommend you to the mayor. That's what was said.
Okay. Well,
Can I ask our attorney for some procedural advice?
Yes, sir.
I'm about ready to make a motion to table this issue. I know there's a motion on the floor, but there's a motion to table with a second ends this discussion, this dialogue.
There is a motion on the floor for, I believe, approval that has been seconded.
Yes.
That motion would have to be acted upon before, unless
They
that
could
motion was
rescind it.
removed.
The motion, the person who made the motion and seconded it could rescind.
That's
the motion.
accurate. That's accurate.
Was that my motion?
It was your motion, and the mayor seconded it. Is there a particular reason, Commissioner?
Well, the reason why I'm making my request is that it's very obvious that there needs to be some more communications among all the parties involved. I told the commission I felt like I'd been out of the loop for the last 2 weeks, so I've been trying to play some catch up. So I've had lots of people to talk to me, but there's still 2 or 3 on the list that I still haven't had that opportunity to. And to me, this is a major step for our community. And I don't want to do it and take it lightly. Mr. Coel has made some comments there that really just doesn't sit right with me as a member of the commission. You know, I have a lot of trust in the 5 of us, and I think I still want to adhere to that. So I'm going to take some of your comments, and I'd like to have the opportunity to do some more research. I call it some more investigating or whatever. But
We've got staff. Why don't we ask staff?
Ask staff what?
Whatever your questions are.
Well, I don't want to do that publicly because I think he's made some very serious comments.
Well, in regard, you made the motion. It's up to you if you want to rescind it or however. But I got 2 questions I got to get out on the table.
All right.
I have a comment. I have a comment too. I just listened.
Ladies first?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I guess my only comments, obviously I've been on the fence for a very long time. None of us have taken this lightly. I've tried to put aside false information, triple fact check everything. Over 3 months, I really appreciate the airport board for teaching us and allowing us to have tours and learning. I'm with JH. I want to keep learning more. The comment made about the airport kind of sitting around, the airport board, I think, has been phenomenal. Collaboration, I think, would happen with
Can I stop you right there?
more communication.
Who said that?
Huh?
Who said the
Kind of
airport board
resting
was
on their
sitting around?
laurels.
No.
The airport board has.
The
Okay.
community has been.
Oh, good, okay. I thought it said
Yeah,
the airport board has.
community has been resting on their laurels.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that's what was said. So the airport board, I think, has done a phenomenal job. I always want to learn more and hear more, because I've been so on the fence. So that's all.
So I have two questions for the commission.
All right.
Number one, what is the downside in this process?
Relationships have been very harmed. I think through the process, they can heal, and I think it would be a good step just to talk a little bit more, maybe. It won't hurt whether it was wrong information. Yeah, relationships have been harmed. Pretty bad.
And that's a two-way street.
That's absolutely right, yes.
But just like in any relationship, you know, you especially when you are in the same boat, you're wise to make a conscious decision that says, we got to work together here. The second question that I have for this commission is, since we represent the citizens of Danville, what is in the best interest of the citizens of Danville?
I'm taking this very seriously, but my answer to that is that it just depends on who you ask in our community. You know, we've been dealing with this for quite a while, and as I talk to people associated with the airport, or who's on the airport board, or who don't know anything at all about the airport or whatever, I get all kinds of mixed responses. So that's why I keep saying, until this annexation item became part of our agenda, our discussion, unless Stuart Powell came here to make a presentation or ask for some money from us, unless we went out when we used to shoot the fireworks off or do the hot air balloon or whatever, most of the citizens in this community don't really know what the airport's all about. And I have to confess, I knew very little about it. I knew what they're about doing. I read the records and the minutes and the notes and stuff, but this has the implication of being a very important decision for our community. And right now, it's going to be a divisive decision either way it goes. You asked your two questions. Let me ask my one question. If this is voted down tonight, how do we get it back on the table? How much time is needed to get it back on the table? Would it be relevant enough even to put back on the table for discussion?
If tonight's motion was voted down,
Yes, sir.
well, I guess it would depend upon you deciding what you wanted to bring back. I mean, you would have a couple of decisions to make. You could do nothing and it would just be over. You could ask it to be brought back to you in its same fashion, or you could direct staff to do some type of altered process that doesn't include the entire proposed annexed area, which would just start the whole process over again.
And if you start the whole process over again, literally that means the whole process over again. The registered letters that go out, the time to respond, all of that.
It would require surveying, legal description preparation, passage of a notice of intent to annex ordinance, 2 readings, certified letters, publications, passage of 60 days, and then first reading, second reading.
And then another option, if this is to be reconsidered, it could be reconsidered with the airport by itself, nothing else.
No.
No, it could not
Can't
be.
do that.
Because it's not contiguous to the current city
So
boundary.
it could not do the, okay.
That's
All right.
correct.
Okay, all right.
You raise a good point, Commissioner Atkins. There are still people in this community that are upset from annexation of 25 years ago when Mayor John Bowling rightfully annexed Streamland and areas. Was that the right thing to do? I think when you look at the amount of flood control that the city has done out there, yeah, I think that was the right thing to do. I don't think annexation, unless we did that little triangle piece out there on Stanford Road, and that was, that was easy, no-brainer. But I go back to this also. What is in the best interest of the citizens of Danville? We are elected to come together as a body and make a decision. We don't have a ballot box out front that says vote yes or no. We're going to count them, and you let us know that we'll vote accordingly. Our job is to get into the meat and potatoes that is not. That the average citizen just is not going to get into that. They got lives to lead, and we're the ones that volunteer our time, to do things like this.
And so what's best for the community is to try to attract more corporations that, like Lafayette Engineering, I hate really using names, but Lafayette Engineering has grown to 150 employees. Their business model is based on the proximity to the airport. Those 150 jobs are more valuable to the community than taxes on the airplanes. So if we could attract another 150 jobs, or even 50 jobs, with another corporation like that, that's where the community benefits.
Just being devil's advocate, that they came without it being annexed. It was run by the airport board when Lafayette decided to locate there. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying you could look at it from that angle too. And I don't know, do you have a?
If land is in the city limits, it's possible to be used as incentives for economic development. We can't do that if the land in between here is not in city limits. And we can't make direct investments in or around the airport if that land is not in the city limits.
Well, let's get back to the question at hand. I requested to postpone, and you've been asked to consider withdrawing your motion, which you haven't done. So I'm going to give you another opportunity to withdraw your motion, but if you're not going to do that, then I'm ready to call for the question, because you just said we got elected to make the major decisions, and I'm ready to make one. So either to withdraw, or we get a chance to postpone it, or we go ahead and vote for it tonight.
Commissioner Atkins, when would you so desire to make a decision? If your motion were successful to table it, when would you prefer to have a meeting? Are you saying like later this week, early next week? How much time, I guess, would you want?
Yeah, no, I don't have a set time in mind. If you say it's got to start all over again, oh, no, I'm sorry. If it gets postponed, then we can do the next special call meeting, right? It's in 2 weeks away from you, right? Or we can
It's actually 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah, it'd actually be 3 weeks. So,
And that's just me speaking from one commissioner. If the other 4 folks want to make a decision tonight, then I'm man enough to cast a vote. It's just up to the rest of the commission. I just see there's been a whole bunch of stuff aired out tonight that's, I can't call on you, Jason, I'm not in charge. So.
there is also a special called meeting on February 1st that is already on your calendars. So to the extent that you want to provide Commissioner or accommodate Commissioner Atkins' request due to his recent travels outside of Danville, Bull County, then you could place it upon that agenda if you so desire.
Or if you ladies and gents want to make a decision tonight, then I will respect you for that, and I will cast a vote.
Well, annexation was first brought to my attention about 7 years ago when I came into office, and one of the first conversations I had with Ron Scott, and he said, you know, there's an idea to annex the airport. 7 years ago, I didn't know how that was even possible. So as I have served on the EDP board for the majority of the last 7 years, and as I have learned more about economic development and growth and opportunities, annexing the airport started to make sense to me. And then this past week, while going to a conference that is outside of the norm of what we typically attend, it made even more sense to me because I talked to people from the transportation industry and I talked to elected officials. Specifically Calvert City, they annexed theirs. Now they have a different scenario, but they have partnered, the city has partnered with tourism, and they give aerial tours of their city and county. They have advocated for the airport, and they've brought tourism dollars in. So I just have a lot of examples that I learned a lot last week specifically. And the answer is, which is what the mayor is asking, is why not? What, how, and Mr. Atkins, you asked this earlier to me. How is it going to damage our community if we do it? Isn't that the question you had?
Well, my question has always been, does it damage us if we do it, and does it damage us if we don't do it? So,
Right.
you know, I just don't know right now. So, yeah. Well,
And
I
the
know
operations
enough
will
to
not
cast a vote,
change.
okay? I know enough to cast a vote that will give me the chance to represent my community. And if that's what you want out of me tonight, then let's go on with it. I would prefer to take a little bit more time, but I'm just one of five.
I guess I want to know what more information are you missing?
Well,
I believe he said he had 3 more people he wanted to talk to about the issue
Well,
to
but
return
yeah,
phone calls, what I heard you say,
Well, let
Commissioner.
me address it this way. I try to be real polite and tactful. There's been a lot of controversial statements made tonight. Okay? I was ready to vote when I got here, but there's been a lot of controversial statements made tonight.
So, Counselor, since I seconded it, if I rescind my second,
Yeah, you can do that. You can rescind your second, which is what should happen first. And listen, it's always advice of staff that if there's confusion, don't vote. So if there's confusion, there's no harm. I mean, February 1st is in a week from tomorrow, I believe. So take a week. If you need a week, take a week. We've been at this, what seems like in perpetuity, Commissioner Cottle. So.
You're welcome.
What's a week?
hey,
What's a
Kevin,
week?
Kevin, can you spell that word?
No, I
Never
couldn't
mind.
use it in Scrabble.
Never
I would
Yeah.
not do that.
So is your second withdrawn, Mayor?
I'm going to withdraw my second because I have a great deal of respect for Commissioner Atkins, and if he has information that he would like to ferret out, then I think out of courtesy, if that's what he needs, then
I don't want to force anybody into a decision they don't want to make, so I'll withdraw mine.
Okay, so with that said, the motion now, Commissioner, is it to be tabled until the February 1st meeting?
Yes, sir.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Mayor?
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
It'll be docketed for February the 1st. I don't know what time that meeting is, City Clerk.
I'd like to make another motion, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
that we take a 5-minute,
Motion's made for 5 minutes. Is there a second?
which will be
Second.
15.
Motion made, and you want how much? You want 5 or 15? 5. All in favor of 5, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, take 5. We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardle, Commissioner Terry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
City manager report.
Mr. City Manager, you're up.
He finally let me make a motion, right? Man, what number are we on, 12 or 13?
Mayor, the only thing I would mention is that the meeting on the 1st, I was going to remind you all that in fact we are meeting on February 1st to talk about the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We encourage the public to attend or at least observe virtually. We are going to also talk about the streetscape plan and the schedule of its progression and provide some improved images. And now I guess we'll talk about annexation too.
Do you have a time?
Not yet.
11 o'clock?
We were initially thinking 9 o'clock.
What? 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Do I need to?
You all have added to the agenda as well, so it could be a very long day.
Do you want me to have coffee just for you or donuts or?
I don't drink coffee.
Ham and biscuits.
9 o'clock.
Ham and
Yeah,
biscuits? Y'all want ham and biscuits?
Acai bowl.
We can work on
9
that.
o'clock.
Are we starting at 9?
It seems that way.
9.
I think we'll need the time if you all are okay with it, because honestly, we were thinking parks in the morning, then a lunch break, and then streetscape in the afternoon.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
While my presence isn't needed for the Parks Master Plan discussion, I don't believe, is that accurate?
No,
I would just simply ask that we deal with the annex issue first, and then I will leave you at it on the 1st.
All
Okay.
right, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Professional courtesy.
Much appreciated.
We are in the section called Hear the Public. This is the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at the podium on any subject that is not on tonight's agenda.
My name is Elaine Wilson-Reddy. I'm a citizen of Danville. And tonight, I originally had written comments to reflect on the special call meeting that was January the 13th that the City Commission had with the Heart of Danville, and how dismayed I was by the tone of that meeting. But sitting here tonight, I am just, people, you guys are elected officials. You have got to put your ego in your car and leave it there. You can't accost citizens because they say something you don't agree with. And you cannot continue to disrespect and talk down to the people who come here to answer your questions. The way Mr. Caldwell was just treated is stunning and unacceptable. I had to step between a commissioner and a volunteer of an organization who came to answer your questions. That is unacceptable behavior for any elected official. Somebody says something you don't like, you swallow it. Take it home and yell at your husband, yell at your wife, kick your dog. But you do not go up to that person at the meeting where they spoke and accost them because they said something that you do not agree with. You are elected officials. You are paid with taxpayer money. Your benefits come out of taxpayer money, and only one of you is looking at me right now. And everybody who stands at this podium deserves your attention and your respect, and you need to make sure that you adhere to that when you all deal with the public. That gentleman was a volunteer. The people from the Heart who were here are volunteers. You all need to do better. Go back and listen to yourselves. That's unacceptable.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right into commissioner comments. Mr. Atkins?
Well, the ML King Committee, we had to postpone the ML King celebration, but we did a Facebook Live presentation of the program. But I want to get out to the public that we have probably 150 adult size, small, medium, large, and 2XL T-shirts from the ML King program that we're going to be distributed, and they're going to be at City Hall starting tomorrow. And so citizens can come in the front door and go to the left and see the ladies at the desk and ask for a free ML King T-shirt. Great program was planned, but we're not in charge of the weather, and they're going to do a follow-up meeting here the first week of February and begin plans for ML King 2023. So kudos to that committee for great work.
I agree.
I was going, oh, go ahead. No, ladies first.
Okay. I just wanted to congratulate DCA. They won the All-A, sorry, they beat Danville, but they did win the All-A Regional Championship and are going to state, so I wanted to congratulate the school. And they're playing January 26th and 27th. And the other thing is the library's closed January 24th through 26th, and they're going to open back up on Thursday, the 27th, with a new integrated library system, and they are going fine-free, and that will actually help me a lot. So, if you haven't been to the library lately, please go. We have one of the best libraries around, and lots of things for the kids to do. So.
I was just going to acknowledge Dr. Williams, who became a member of the, I think, Cattlemen's Hall of Fame. That's a pretty big deal. Congratulate him for his years of work in the field.
February the 23rd in Frankfurt is the city, what they call the City Day and Night. The day portion commences at 8 a.m. with a breakfast, and then you can roam through the LRC halls. You can participate as a spectator, if you will, in any of the deliberations that occur in the various committees. And then that evening, it's a social gathering, an opportunity to just meet with our counterparts, ask them questions, and as you say, develop relationships. Secondly, I want to acknowledge our Public Works group. I got a very nice note from former Magistrate Jack Hendricks, who was very kind to acknowledge how well our Public Works folks had done at this last snow. And I know, Earl, you got that as well, but I want to make sure the public understands and appreciates Mr. Hendricks' comments to us.
Well, both of you took mine.
No, sorry about that.
I was going to acknowledge Dr. Williams as well. And I had my card up here for the city day. Earl, typically we try to coordinate if, whoever wants to go of us. I've actually already registered, but we try to coordinate a meeting with our senator and representative. Can you do that and get us a time to meet with them, and then we can coordinate from there if whoever can and wants to go?
Yes, ma'am. That was on our list to follow up with this week.
Okay.
Having gotten back from KBT last week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? We'll move right into the financial part, payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the payment of the bills as presented.
I'll offer that motion.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? Seeing none, chair called the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2022-01-24-04. This has to do with the change order for the wastewater treatment plant. Marshall? What was yours?
Marshall, if you would, real quick, can you provide an update? I know we have an outage, and I know you've gotten several
yeah.
calls. Talk about that real quick, just for the commission.
Yeah, we actually have had a water main break out in Bluegrass. So we've got, our guys are out there right now working on getting that connection put back in service. So we're probably going to have several customers that will be affected by a boil water advisory coming out this evening and tomorrow. So just want to let everybody know that maybe listening at home to be aware of that in the Bluegrass Estates area. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This agenda item is in relation to change order number 3 of the wastewater treatment plant. This is pertaining to foundation subgrade discovered during the excavation of the electrical building. Bottom line is the contractor needs to excavate further down into the ground to get to bedrock and then come back up with lifts of material to build the foundation of the building. So financial impact is going to be about $20,704 added to the existing contract of $8,863,904. That bring a new value of $8,884,609.09.
Call for motion to approve resolution 2022-0124-04.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Cottle, thank you. We're in discussion. I will say this. This is an example of what cities do to promote economic development. This wastewater treatment facility is necessary for the expansion of Megget, and that's what we do. So it's a big price tag, but it's necessary.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 16 is resolution number 2022-01-24-05. This is with respect to some easements on Lebanon Road. Continue on, Mr. Carrier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You touched upon a good point of growth in industrial development. This is another prime example of that. This is to authorize some easement acquisitions across parcels owned by the Boyle County Industrial Foundation for the Lebanon Road Phase 1 sanitary sewer capacity improvements along Clark's Run. And you've probably heard me talk about this project before in recent updates. You know, ultimately, this is to provide additional capacity in the sewer lines to provide industrial growth out to the industrial park and anywhere between that location and all the way to the east side of town. So with that increased capacity, it will help with that conversation like you mentioned earlier.
Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval of resolution 2022-01-2405.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Holland, thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 17 is resolution number 2022-01-24-06. This is the bid award for the Lebanon Road sewer. Continue on, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is obviously directly related to the previous agenda item. The city received bids on December the 22nd, 21, for the Lebanon Road Clark's Run Phase 1 trunk sanitary sewer improvement project. This project consists of multiple large diameter gravity sewer line installations and appurtenances. If you recall, well, the city's already doing direct purchase of the pipe, so that's one thing to consider monetarily as well. We had a lot of interest on this project. I think we had over 14 different general contractors pull plans on this project, which is a really good number. We had 7 people bid on the job, 7 general contractors. Low bid ended up being $2,169,000 even from Hubert Excavation Construction. One thing to note probably, when you compare that to the range of the bids for the project, it ranged from anywhere from $2,169,000 as a low bid to almost $5 million, $4,990,000. So pretty substantial spread on a project of this size, but we feel like that's a good value, that $2,169,000.
So they understand the scope. I mean, that's a huge.
Yes, sir.
difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've dealt with Hubert Excavating before in previous projects, and they do a really good job. Probably one of the, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Earl, but I think one of the better contractors that we have out there.
That's good.
So,
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move for approval of Resolution 2022-012406.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Discussion? Marshall, quick question.
yes, sir.
Are we seeing so many bidders? Has the construction side slowed down quite a bit?
Somewhat. I mean, you probably would have to think that somehow related, the construction market itself is probably somewhat related by COVID, still, even yet. You know, you do see market price increases, material price increases all the time, which is why we want to get ahead of the game with the direct purchase of the pipe, which if you take that in consideration with a low bid on the project, you know, we're probably going to end up, compared to what the engineer's estimate was for this project, we're coming in at a little over $1 million less than the engineer's estimate overall.
That's the extent of my question. Thank you. Any further? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 18 is resolution number 2022-01-24-07. This is just streetscape design fee increase. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Gresham Smith, our streetscape consultant, is requesting a fee increase of $35,500 to their design fee. There's three main components that the reasons they're asking for an increase. We're going to do some upgrades to the Whizziger Park fountain on the corner of 4th and Main. There was a portion of North 4th Street that wasn't included in their initial scope that we somewhat discovered a couple weeks ago in a meeting with them, so we're adding that section in. And then they're preparing some additional outreach documents for us as we get closer to the final design decisions on materials. We asked them for some more detailed renderings and some discussions of the previous guidelines that were selected 15 years ago in the first master plan, streetscape master plan. So to prepare all those documents, they're asking for an increase of $35,500.
Do I hear a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 2022-01-2407.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardle. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Holland. Discussion?
What are they going to do to our fountain? I know it addresses that.
We're not sure yet.
They going to put a
We're
bigger
going to talk
water
about
hose
that
down there or what?
We're going to talk about that next week at
Okay.
the special call meeting to get them started on a design.
When do you anticipate construction? Well, you got it. When do you anticipate construction starting?
June 6th is the goal. That's the Monday after Brass Band Festival. So that's the
Okay.
date we're shooting for to break ground.
We'll make sure the public's aware of that.
Yes. I think that's achievable. We set that date out there because we do think it's achievable at this point. But this design, after we meet next week, will have to go to KYTC for permitting. So that is an unknown timeline. But at this point, we anticipate June 6th. And the consultant, they do these projects regularly with KYTC, and they think that's reasonable. The next big date is when do we expect to be completed by? And that's another thing we'll discuss next week. We're trying to nail that down, what kind of timeline we want to push for.
Any further questions or comments? Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 19 is resolution number 2022-01-24-08. This is the work on the Public Works building improvements. Continue on, sir.
Yes, Branstetter Carroll, who was the original architecture firm for that design, I think 8 years ago now. I think Stephen was looking at it when he was doing this resolution. They're requesting a fee of $22,500 to update those drawings using current building code requirements. The code has changed since then, so they have to run that back through their entire code review process. And then they will prepare bid documents and provide construction administration for that project. So that's in the amount of $22,500.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-01-24-08.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Terry, thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 20 is the codes enforcement report. Bridget, take your time and hurry up.
It'll be short and sweet, I promise. You have before you, for the month of December, we had, we issued 21 business licenses and conducted 114 inspections, issued 17 parking citations. And we have issued, we have changed the condemnation report and added 414 Adams Street to that as well, because due to a fire, so that property's also been condemned. Joni's been really busy for Architecture Heritage Board. She's been working on her historic surveys for the Kentucky Heritage Council, and she's been doing a lot of consultation with some of our local business owners with some projects that are going on. And and then our Board of Directors has a local leader academy that we were available to apply for, so I was selected to do that for Danville, so I'll be doing that for the next year. So we'll be working on leadership development with other cities around the state, so I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
We had an issue arise, I don't know if you want to bring this up, but the situation at the corner of 2nd Street and Duncan Hill continues to be a source of, and I'll say it mildly, a source of agitation. We've got to come up with an answer here, and there's a safety issue here. There is a site issue here. And there's a behavior issue here that is certainly out of our purview, maybe in law enforcement's purview, but it's not in ours. But we've got to do something. What can we do?
Well, we have done some things already to look at that, in that we have drawn lines there on the property with signage that lets people know that they should not park in that area. And we monitor that during the week when we're here, and the police do as well. If we get called, we go and check that out, but we check it during the day. We don't get a lot of calls. The 911's not getting a lot of calls to come out there and look at that property. So we've done that part to help that situation. We moved, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, we moved the stop sign. We did something to the stop sign out there as well because of visibility.
Yes, we moved the stop sign slightly forward, use curbing to create a little island for that stop sign to set in, just to pull when you're stopped there on Duncan Hill, has a little more visibility to the north.
But as far as the property goes, there's a few property maintenance violations. We've notified the owner of that, and they're working on those. But as far as what else we can do to that property,
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Bridget. So ironically, the city staff talked about this site at our staff meeting last week for an update on code compliance. And we are aware that it became an issue this weekend. Staff had already gone out the first part of last week and followed up, and she mentioned some violations that the property owner has been notified of. That was sent out today probably, or last week?
it was last week.
Right,
And
so all of that happened last week in advance of the events of this weekend. We've talked with the police last week also, and so we are continuing to do enforcement down there as we're called, and we have talked to some of the complainants, and the police chief and I will meet with them this week. And I know Ms. Lester is doing her job, and we have asked her to look at the nuisance ordinance, look at the city ordinances to make sure, just to double check. We asked that early last week, and so she has revisited that process based on changes to the site that has happened since the last time we did that comprehensive review. The property is largely in compliance with its zoning, in that it's zoned industrial, not, I don't know the
It is
precise. It's just light
that's what I've
industrial or
heard, is it's industrial.
Yeah, and so it's been consistent with its land use, but we have asked her to look at the ordinance again to make sure that the property is in compliance. We are aware of the EPA doing a floodplain inspection down there. Those staff members in that organization have, at the state level, who are enforcing the federal regulation, have followed up. The property owner's been responsive to those inspections. And so things have been very active, although we have not updated you specifically on that property. It is good that we're doing so tonight, so that you're aware and have information when you're approached by it. And so that has happened, and staff was working on it last week before the incidents of this weekend. And we'll continue to follow up on it.
You said the incidents of this weekend. I guess you're talking about all the Facebook chatter that was out this weekend?
Yes, there was
This is a bunch of Facebook
truck
stuff.
parked with a trailer along the front part there was affecting visibility. And I believe I'm right in saying they did call the police department, but by the time the police officer arrived on scene, the vehicle was no longer there.
I'm not a Facebook checker, but I get calls from that all the time.
So the message to the public is to call early and often. Who do you want them to call?
If it's during the week, call codes, or you can call 911 and the dispatch center, and they'll call us, and we'll go out there and check those. On the weekends, it's going to be the police department.
That's 238-1220, or what's the codes number?
238-1200.
238-1200.
There it goes to code. Or 911.
Yes, well, we reserve those for an emergency situation,
I
but yes.
understand, but you brought it up.
Is there a limit to like how many complaints a property can get, or? anything like that?
Unfortunately,
I'm
no.
just curious.
I mean, it's, like I said, the number of violations that have been issued there are minimal.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
There's a few property maintenance violations, but we haven't had, the police are checking on all those, but the last I heard, there's not any wrecks there. We're not having, we're having complaints.
Yeah.
But we are addressing those as we are notified of them.
And unfortunately, a lot of the complaints are just people losing their eyes and saying things, and there are really no violations at all, but it just looks, what's a good word? Terrible? Bad? I don't know the right word to use, but.
All the above.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I had a question, and you all can answer this at a later time, but I just wanted to do a follow-up. We started foreclosure proceedings on several properties several years ago now, and I'd like to know where we are in that, and I've asked this before, is there not a better, faster way? And I had a property owner who, there are some liens on the property that they wish to sell that property. Did you ever get to talk to him, Mr. Coffey?
He sent me a letter, and we will, that is forthcoming for review. And
Okay.
We've-
He basically wants a settlement amount to
Correct.
release the liens in order to sell the property.
that is correct. Yeah, we've spoken to him directly, and he sent us a letter. We have to respond to that.
Your answer in short is no, there's not a better way. And very much of the process, the city is rarely in the driver's seat on these cases. We are named parties that are driven by plaintiffs holding larger interest in the cities, and we have but a proportional interest in the lawsuit. And so we basically take a position that we reply, and you can see on funds collected as properties are sold, we recoup a host of money through the process of ones that are sold. But often there are ones that are very difficult, and those are the ones that linger. And that's through no fault of our own, just it's this simple process. And sometimes plaintiffs deem it inefficient to proceed if the cost exceeds the value of their liens. And so in those situations, those cases stalemate. It's just the facts.
And the property owner is notified of those regularly. We are one of the few cities that sends out the letters continually telling you, as we add interest to those liens, we tell you how much your lien was, how much your interest is, and what the total due is of this date. So it's not like they hear about it at the beginning and they never hear about it again, and we just keep adding interest. We take the time. Tiffany takes a long time to put those letters together and mail those out on a regular basis. It's a
And
lot
you
of.
should also know this, that cities were polled at our request by KLC. I don't know. I can't give you the time, but it's been within the last probably 5 or 6 years. And the vast majority of cities do not pursue collection, period. We were shocked by that. Don't even send collection letters, period. do nothing. Most of them don't even file liens. Some do. More of them file liens, but Danville was like one of a small handful of cities that took any collection effort whatsoever. So collection is a grueling effort. And so oftentimes when we talk about getting involved in foreclosures and pursuing collection, we do it at a cost that does not have much reward to the city unless the property's sold. The reward to the city is getting a property that has been abandoned or it's in disrepair back into service. And the city doesn't do that work, but I get a call probably in my office, if not once a week, 3 or 4 times a month, that says, hey, the city has liens on the property. I want to buy the property. Will the city sell it to me? Believe me, I wish we could do that, but it's not our property. We merely have a lien hold interest, and unless the other lien holders agree to it, and the city also has a position that we don't settle liens. They are what they are. And we're not in a position, we've never been in a position where we have released liens absent bankruptcy or court order. So we've had properties that have sat for a long time because of that as we've always said, falls back on the shoulders of the property owner or the heirs or whoever has the interest or the mortgage holder to drive the bus. And that's rarely the city.
Yeah, and we've talked about that land bank authority where Louisville is set up to try to buy homes
Right.
out of condemnation and buy homes that are struggling with absentee landlords. And, that's a
costly.
complicated thing. It takes
Complicated and
money.
costly.
And that's one of the things we have to talk about as a community and whether or not that's an avenue we want to go down. There is an economic benefit to turning the homes over. But what we're doing right now is we're working in concert with folks at the Chamber and the EDP and the Workforce Housing Group Committee. It's quasi-informal, but we have that group, George Coomer's on it, Marty Gibson's on it. We've got a long list of people that are involved. Habitat's tried to be involved. We want to come with recommendations on what to do with a lot of things, and I think that group has decided to just take the lead on developing recommendations to the city and the EDP and on a strategy towards those types of details. So we've kind of waited on that to come to fruition a little bit before we circle back to that conversation.
I know, other places are finding ways to get those get those properties into the hands of people who can do something with them, redevelop, renovate, whatever. And I just think we need to think about a better way.
Yeah, it has to be a strategy that works for your community, for our
Yes.
community here. And I think, after we looked at it, relying on that group of citizens to come with a recommendation, felt like that may be the best solution for this community if we could drive it out of there. Because it's such it's got landlords, it's got different cross-section of people on it.
Okay, I'll be interested to hear what they say.
Anything else? Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
And finally, resolution number 2022-24-09. This is about a grant application for the highway safety. I want to congratulate Detective Dollins for being so patient with us tonight.
She is Captain Dollins now.
Oh, my correction. Thank you.
She only left the meeting 5 times, though. She did pretty good. She only left the meeting 5 times. She did pretty good.
Madam, the floor is yours.
This is a grant that we do every year. It just allows police officers to receive money for overtime to enforce vehicle violations.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-01-2409.
Motion from Commissioner Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Atkins, discussion?
Good job.
We'll try not to keep you as long next time.
I've rather enjoyed it.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Captain.
Thank you.
Do we have need for executive session?
Yes, sir, personnel and litigation.
Here we go. Do I hear a motion for personnel and litigation executive session?
A motion for adjournment, what'd you say?
No, sir?
Our cheat sheets are gone down here, so it's going to have to come from that end.
Personnel and litigation. You may.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61.8101F, and also motion to go into executive session for litigation pursuant to KRS 61.8101C.
We have a motion by Commissioner Holland. Is there a second?
Second, nice job.
Yes, well done. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We're in executive session. Everybody have a good night.
Regular session.
Second.
Thank you. Staff is recommending the hiring of Bobby Sullivan to the position of water treatment operator trainee.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Mayor, say aye. You said yes? All right.
Is that it?
Anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I didn't even say opposed.